my name is Judith Mendoza, and today I am going to speak about behavior. Behavior is communication. All of behaviors, which are movements or actions that we do with our body or that we may say with our mouth, is all communication and behavior. So that is the way that we communicate with others, with other humans, through behavior, through our body actions and movements. Some people may refer to that as body language. And others also tell me how they're feeling through their behavior or through their actions, through their movements that they do with our bodies, with their bodies. So when it comes to modifying behavior, which we all want to do, we all want to achieve a potential that includes good, excellent communication with others. And so, in order to do that, we have to continue to change our body movements or actions or behavior, which is communication. When it comes to doing that, this is what is used in regards to doing that, or for doing that, is analysis, where the behavior gets analyzed, gets measured, is observed, and the person analyzes how this human being is interacting with others, and when it comes to bad behaviors or inappropriate behaviors, what is the frequency of it, what happens, what leads to it, or what triggers it, the duration, how long does it last, what is the intensity of it, and what is the person seeking to do with it. So collecting data in regards to that as the analysis and intervention process goes is very important, and that can be a parent or a teacher or a caretaker taking care of someone with a mental disability. For example, like those with autism spectrum, in the autism spectrum disorder, they tend to, or the way of communicating is in a literal way, and they learn in a literal way also. In the way that they process and understand and discern information is different. So because it's in a literal way, it's not figuratively, so they understand, those who are autistic understand information differently. So when it comes to behavior, some behavior can be inappropriate or even bad behavior. So helping those in children also to modify and change behavior, we have to use methods in order for them to learn how to do that, because eventually that is what's happening. It's not the person has to learn how to change his or her own behavior accordingly. They have to learn how to recognize behavior, their actions, what they're doing, being aware, what they're doing with their bodies, what their actions are with their body, what they're saying with their mouth. We are exposing our mind to other humans through our voice, through what we say. So we are teaching the person to learn to recognize these triggers and these behaviors, and then also to modify it. So that is the goal of the analysis and intervention. And to me, in my opinion, the analysis and intervention always go hand in hand at all times. It's not just at the beginning when you meet the person that you're going to help, but at all times, because a human being, depending on the age, has lived and has experienced life, and that person is going to at times show you certain type of behavior, and then later on you may learn some other behaviors that this person may have, and then you're going to intervene accordingly. So when it comes to good behavior, we want to praise good behavior. We want to reward it. And praise is reward. Now, when it comes to bad, inappropriate behavior, we want to not pay attention to it. We want to focus on helping the person redirect to a good behavior or to a proper way of communication. Throwing a tantrum, if it's a child, is not a good way to communicate. And if it is an adult, becoming violent or anything else that is inappropriate, yelling, screaming, and getting upset, and letting our feelings out, that is not the appropriate way to deal with situations. So the person has to learn how to handle his body movements, his actions, and what he says through his mouth, or her, it can be a female. So that person has to be taught to learn how to use his or her body properly in order to communicate. Then we want to recognize the triggers. We want to know what's the environment, what happened before the action of inappropriate behavior, what caused the person to that point, and then why that person became disruptive in his or her actions. We want to learn that, and then we want to redirect the person to the appropriate action. Also, the person has to learn that there are consequences for our body actions. There are good consequences for our body actions or our behavior or our communication, and there are bad consequences for bad behavior or our bad actions or our bad communication. That is important that a person learns. And then also, if, for example, the behavior have to be corrected right there as it happens. There's an action. It's either good or bad. If it's good, then reward. If it's bad, then correct. So that the person can change or modify it. For example, if it's a teacher in school and the child is being disruptive, what is the consequence? Well, the consequence is that the child is going to go to is going to change settings, because the person now is going to go to a disciplinary classroom, maybe CSI or student study. That person changes from that attention-seeking inappropriate behavior to another place where now is the outcome of his behavior. So whatever he was seeking in the classroom, that he was disruptive in the classroom did not get him what he wanted. It got him a consequence, a bad consequence, that isolated him to be in another classroom where he's not going to be freely doing what he was doing before, but he is going to now be disciplined there. So that is a way to handle it. The consequence have to go with it in order for the person to learn how to deal with the situation. Now, there are some situations that are out of our control. It doesn't matter how much bad or inappropriate behavior we do, it's not gonna change because we're not in control of the situation. We cannot be in control of the situation, especially when it comes to other human beings. We cannot control other human beings, or to the point we can't change other human beings. The change have to come from within the person, the individual. I cannot go and say I'm going to change someone. That person have to be willing and wanting to make a change, to recognize first that there must be a change, and then that person can start implementing methods to make that change or modification. And that is also the goal with the analysis and the intervention, that the person also understands what is involved in this process that he's being guided to do, but that he must do on his own. And of course, the guidance is the intervention itself. So this process may cause the person to escalate in their behavior, in their bad, inappropriate behavior, because no one likes to be called the attention. No one likes discipline. No one likes bad consequences. But we have to learn that our actions have consequences or outcomes. And depending on what we choose to do, it's up to us, up to me. I can have good consequences if I make good choices. So the person has to learn to discern and understand this point that goes with the intervention and why he's being helped or why she's being helped. And if it's a child, explain it also. A child has the capacity to understand. It may escalate to more bad behavior for some time, but eventually, if you're consistent in this approach, it will work. And the person eventually will learn that why a bad behavior is not good, which, of course, but the person will learn why it's not good and why it's inappropriate. And then also the goal with this is to have better relations with others, because we are communicating. It's behavior is communication. So that's what I had to say in regards to behavior. And when it comes to those who are in the autism spectrum disorder, they learn by memorization. So that means that they will have to learn by memorizing that a behavior is good and a behavior is bad. In time, they'll memorize it, because they have to. It's not something that is going to be just with the intervention, but is going to be part of what they're going to have to be doing by practicing doing behaviors or actions until they get used to doing that and modifying whatever they have learned to use as a mechanism for communication. So thank you for listening.